much for inviting the Secretariat to give a brief overview of drought in small island developing states. The information is based on the Global Land Outlook Small Island Developing States thematic report, which will be officially launched next week. And we would like to kindly invite all of you to join us next week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the launch of the event. So this will be a small extract of that larger report, just to form the basis of discussions today. Next slide, please. So based on UNCCD data, about 51 million hectares in SIDS are affected by drought. That's about 43.2% of the total land area. Of that area, about 3% is affected by severe drought and 6% by extreme drought. And it's often the smaller, isolated, and poorer concentrations that are the most vulnerable. A report by FAO suggests that the Pacific is the most vulnerable region, followed by the Caribbean and the Pacific. But as already mentioned, there's a lot of diversity within SIDS, and we of course also have SIDS that are arid or semi-arid, and as a result are highly vulnerable. Next slide, please. As you can see from the figure on the left, droughts have become more intense and more frequent. And in fact, the total land area has increased by about 30%, and so have the people affected and the economic losses. And drought is also increasingly experienced along other interacting stressors such as land degradation, land disturbance, heat waves, and of course sea level rise and salinization, as well as droughts followed by heavy rains, which can lead to flooding and landslides. And this further exacerbates the impacts of drought in SIDS. And as mentioned, that can have devastating impacts, and SIDS are highly vulnerable on the one hand side because they already have very limited natural water storage, often very vulnerable freshwater lenses, and a heavy reliance on rainfall. So even short periods of drought can very quickly lead to water stress. And of course, reduced moisture also has impacts on agricultural productivity, and as a result, food security and nutrition levels. And some data from the Pacific actually suggests that they experienced $270 million in drought-related agricultural losses in 2019, which was about 20% of the total agricultural losses. And then thirdly, of course, together with sand and dust storms, which are often a result of droughts in the Sahara and in Asia, droughts can also have considerable impacts on human health, for example, by promoting the spread of infectious diseases. And a lot of these impacts are very cross-sectoral. That's because there's such a strong connection between different ecosystems, between land and freshwater marine ecosystems, between land, people, and economies. And this requires an integrated planning and management approach that focuses on being proactive and really considering a broader interconnected risk landscape. And something that's very important to achieve that is to have access to information, to have access to data, which could be hydrometeorological services, climate service data, or early warning systems that can support decision making to consider this broader risk landscape that interacts with drought conditions and considers the interconnectedness of the ecosystem with people and economies. And I think that's it from my side. I hope this is a good basis for discussion, and we hope to see you all next week, Wednesday in Med 23.